Hello, Sioux Falls, and welcome to Planning Preview for the month of October. My name is Jason Bieber at the Planning and Development Services Office, and joining me this month, as always, is Kurt Johnson, our Planning Commission Chair.
Thank you, Jason.
Good afternoon, Kurt. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good. Yeah, we got quite a bit of stuff actually, and not quite as many as most months, but you know, we got a pretty good agenda here, so maybe we should swing right into it. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. So I was reading through this, Jason, and I noticed our first one, we're going from a twin home duplex residential to a suburban RA1 apartment. It's residential to residential, but yet change. And why don't you tell us a little bit about this one?
Yep, so they're looking to do more of an apartment style instead of a twin home, and this actually backs up to La Mesa Drive, which you know is an arterial street, so this is actually a pretty good use to kind of transition to the existing single family and twin homes just to the east of this particular project. So.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I think that's a common theme as we talk about residential projects in this lineup. So our next one, however, a little different. We're going from ag to a C3 commercial. This looks like South Minnesota Avenue, kind of in that budding area.
Yep. So this is actually a property. It was a single family house that just recently annexed into the city. Future uses of this obviously was just north of Schulte Subaru, so we were planning on commercial and for future use. Looks like they've purchased it, and they're looking then to now rezone it and kind of expand the dealership down there. So.
Oh, very good. Always no shortage of cars there. No. That's quite a hopping area. So very good. Our next one, it looks like we're looking to increase density just a little bit, RT1 to RT2, townhome residential. Tell us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so this is kind of one of those things that we seem to do maybe one a month or one every 2 months, kind of those corrections of properties maybe that we misidentified as part of Shade Places in 2014, and then we get owners or applicants kind of come in and say, hey, I've been using it as a duplex or 3-unit apartment forever, and then what we like to do is then go back and through the permits, make sure that it was converted illegally, and then as long as it is, then we will rezone them to the appropriate zoning district that they should have been at.
Oh, very good. Always good to catch these and get them reset to where they need to be. That's excellent. Looks like our next one's part of a bigger project. We have a rezoning from ag to conservation single family and a related preliminary subdivision plan with this one, correct?
Yep, so this is another large chunk of land that we've seen quite a bit this year and last year up in the northwest part of town. So no surprise here, just kind of west of Jefferson High School, right? We've seen all of that land kind of being annexed in. So this is actually just north of our existing school, McGovern Middle School, and then the fire station, a big chunk of land over there. So they're looking at kind of doing a little bit of a unique way of building single family. It's a little odd when you say light industrial right next to single family, right? We always have,
Exactly.
we'll get a little bit heartburn with that one. But this is unique. So actually the I-1 and light industrial portion is for them to build actually a manufacturing building, and then actually manufacture the houses. They kind of bring them through in stages and build portions of them, and then they take them into the subdivision, and then they'll put them up essentially. So the I-1 light industrial is actually for the houses that they're going to build on site. So it's kind of a different concept that we've seen, but hopefully the way that they made it sound, it could be something that allows us to build single family houses a little bit faster. So.
Well, there is certainly a shortage of that, and that would definitely be a good thing. So definitely excited to hear more about that one.
Yep.
Our next one, it looks like this one could be interesting. We're going from an office district and conservation to an RA3 apartment residential, so that's pretty dense. Tell us about this guy.
Yep, so this is actually the area, the open land just east of JJ's on 57th Street and 229. There's kind of that open lot that backs right up to the Big Sioux River there, and then the bike trail. So they're looking at doing kind of a tall apartment development there, which could be a really good fit with the commercial, and then with them backing up and overlooking the river and the bike trail, it can kind of be a good use for that specific piece.
Well, certainly as the highway or 57th Street and the interstate is right there, that probably would be location. A really good fit for that. So very nice. Looks like our last one, we're going from an office district to a lighter density apartment residential. South Daylight Drive. Why don't you tell us about this one?
Yeah, so a lot of people probably don't know where Daylight Drive is, and I had to look it up too, so don't worry. But this is actually Cappleman's land, so kind of southwest corner of 26th Street and Veterans Parkway. We've seen quite a bit of development there. So this area is directly south of 26th Street. So with zoned office, they're looking at doing some fourplex things as a kind of a buffer as you start coming into the development to those single family houses. This will provide kind of that buffer to the arterial street of 26th Street. And then part of that too, the trail will come through behind here. So kind of another good addition to our bike trail.
Excellent, yeah, a lot of access to some pretty cool amenities there for this property, so very good. Look forward to seeing this one come to fruition. So.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those agendas, maybe not a ton of items, but there's some pretty interesting projects that we'll be looking at, so it should be a exciting meeting, hopefully.
Look forward to it.
Yeah, thanks for joining me, Kurt.
Thank you.
And stay tuned, Sioux Falls. After the break, we're going to have Logan Penfield, our newest member of our housing team, on to kind of talk about not only what his first 6 weeks of work with the city has been, but maybe some of the ideas he has moving that age-old problem of affordable and accessible housing forward. So stay tuned.
Hey, this is Seth and I work for the City of Sioux Falls in the Housing Division. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about gutters and why it's important to make sure that your gutters are clean going into the winter. I know right now it looks nice and sunny and warm, but real soon, as we all know, it's going to get cold and water's going to freeze. And so if you see this gutter right here is full of leaves and even has a little bit of dirt. That dirt is actually leaves that have decomposed into dirt. And so if that's left long enough, you'll actually get vegetation growing out of your gutters. And that's a really bad thing for a couple reasons. Water can build up and actually sag your gutters if they're plugged, and it changes the slope of the gutter. So it no longer pushes the water down to the downspout and out. It actually gets into a little sag in the middle of the gutter, and it'll actually tear your gutter off, or your gutter will come off because of that. Also, another great reason to clean your gutters is simply just to keep up on your home. So when your gutters fill up, they can no longer direct the water down into the downspout, and it goes directly over straight down into what we would call the drip line of the foundation, which is about a foot or two away from your foundation. This actually causes a lot of issues in basements. One of the biggest issues we have in our single family rehab is basements that are cracking, water coming in, just a lot of foundation issues. And that's oftentimes caused by just clogged gutters. So water goes down to the drip line, saturates that soil, and then winter comes, it freezes. We all know ice expands. When it freezes, puts pressure on the foundation and starts cracking up your home. One last thing with gutters I'd like to explain to you is when they get plugged up, they actually cause the water to back up into the roof. And if you've heard of ice dams on your roof, oftentimes it starts with your gutter. And so water freezes in your gutter, and ice above the gutter melts. And somewhere in the middle, there's water that is just sitting there that can't get out down the roof. And so you have a couple layers of ice and water that the contractors have to put on your home. The first two, about 6 feet, is ice and water. That gives you a little protection, but ultimately with standing water, you're gonna have water coming into the roof, down and into your home, and then you're gonna have a lot of issues. So ultimately, keeping your gutters clean is a really important thing to do to your home. It's pretty simple. If you can just climb up on usually a 6 or 8 foot ladder is plenty big enough. Grab some handfuls and clean it out. And if you can't get up on a ladder, paying somebody to do this is worth it. Thanks for watching today's Home Maintenance Minute.
Welcome back, Sioux Falls, a planning preview for the month of October. I'm excited to have Logan Penfield join us today. He's our new housing development manager for the city of Sioux Falls. Thanks for joining me today, Logan.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
So I was kind of teasing a little bit before the break that you've been here 6 weeks. Am I close on that?
I think this is week 7 now.
7, okay,
Yeah.
week 7,
Just
which I
over
can't believe
6.
you made the first 4 weeks, so we're doing good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I just kind of wanted to have you on here because we obviously know housing is not only a big problem for Sioux Falls, for the entire country, but it's also one of the big initiatives that the mayor's been working on really since he took over in 2018. So wanted to have you on here and just get your perspective maybe of some of the things Sioux Falls is doing good and maybe some of the things that maybe you have as a goal over the next, you know, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years you work here, right?
Sure.
Yeah, but real quick, just give us a little information about yourself, where you came from, and some of that basic stuff so the audience knows.
Absolutely. So I came over from the Realtors Association. I was their government affairs director. I was with them for about 18 months before accepting this position. I had the opportunity to work for Senator Rounds before that out in DC and get the opportunity to work, you know, inside government and then outside government with the Realtors Association. So it's good to be back on the inside and be back, you know, back into public service, so to speak.
Yep. And I think it was good too when you were working for Raise. You were already talking about this problem. I know
Yep.
you were working with the council and some of our staff members on trying to, I mean, you're probably never going to fix housing, that's just not, but trying to find maybe some ideas on how to help the housing situation in Sioux Falls. So I know we've already had some pretty good conversations with you in your previous employment, so now you get to be kind of on this side of it, right?
Yeah, that was really exciting too. So last fall, the Accessible Housing Advisory Board, AHAB as we call it, put together the 2026 Housing Action Plan, which is a 5-year plan to address housing across all income levels for the city of Sioux Falls, from land to building and design standards, infrastructure issues, you know, workforce, both how do you entice a workforce here without adequate housing supply, but also the workforce necessary to work as electricians, plumbers, and as subcontractors for developers across the city, and then with, you know, different ways we can do public-private partnerships and incentives. And so getting the opportunity to work with the AHAB board and sit in on those meetings and now come and you know, have a job that's focused on trying to implement that plan is really exciting.
Yeah, because that's kind of like what you just mentioned there, which was great, is when you were on the other side, you were kind of giving ideas, and now you actually work on implementing those ideas through the city and through the different government programs that you work with and you receive money from. So maybe give us a little bit about some of those programs. And I know they've got all these acronyms and stuff, so maybe explain them a little bit to us people that don't get all the government funds, but maybe some of the things that you're getting money for and really what you're looking to do with it.
Absolutely. So every year we submit a housing action plan to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD as we call it. And once that's approved, we get access to community development block grant funds and then home investment partnership funds. And that totals for the city of Sioux Falls about $1.6 million for this year. And we actually just got our plan approved last week, so we can start working for 2022-2023 year on that. So we use those funds to do the single family rehabilitation program, which offers zero interest deferred loans to individuals at 80% AMI, area and median income, or less, who own a house. And the goal of that the goal of that program is to try to avoid houses falling into dilapidation, right? If you can't afford to put a new roof on your house, that house is going to quickly fall into dilapidation. You're going to lose the value and the equity that you have built into that. So this program, you know, aims to make sure that we have a, you know, safe and safe housing, and also make sure that investment doesn't start you know, costing more money than they can afford to live in the long term. So we use it for the HUD dollars for that. We have Neighborhood Safety Grant Program, which is a grant of up to $5,000 for individuals at 65% of area median income or less. We have the Neighborhood Revitalization Program, which we use home dollars, and we work with our partners at Affordable Housing Solutions to build affordable twin homes in this case, and sell it to individuals at 80% AMI or less. And so there's rental rehabilitation programs as well, to make sure that some older rental units can get brought up to, whether it's, again, siding, roof issues, heating and cooling, real basic needs to make sure that we don't lose housing supply, and especially that we don't lose housing supply on the lower income levels. And so those are low interest loans through the city, and we're able to use federal dollars for them, so it doesn't cost the city any money.
And I've seen some of those, pictures of some of the ones that you've worked on that have been amazing. I mean, transformations with just doing the $5,000 with a roof and some paint. But one of the things we talk about too is when you can take these older neighborhoods and have people put money into the houses, that obviously lifts up the neighborhoods, and hopefully that rubs off on, hey, my neighbor just put all this money into it, maybe I should put some money into it, and really can start bringing those neighborhoods back up to what they were when they were built,
It saves houses, it increases the value of the neighborhoods, and it also makes sure that the owner of that house has an investment that they can eventually sell too, if they end up, moving up in income and deciding to get a more expensive house, or just to live in a different neighborhood. It benefits all three. So those are our programs that we use federal funds for. We got some exciting new partnerships that have just started to go to council, and today actually was before the county commission, which is the TIF project that Dustin Powers has helped put together, and that's gonna create 65 single-family houses. Well, sorry, 65 units. About half of them are twin homes, sold at between 99% and 65% of the first-time home buyer program in South Dakota. So we're looking at $225,000 to about $330,000 for the sale of those properties. And the city and the county are utilizing a single-family housing TIF, or affordable housing TIF, through the state to be able to buy down the cost of that development, so that we can make sure that there's new housing stock, not just at $350,000 and above, but in that first-time home buyer, workforce, accessible, however you want to define it, AMI area.
Yeah. And I think that the great thing about that development is, and working with Kelly and all that stuff, I mean, he's not just putting it in some crazy area, right? He's putting it in a subdivision that he's developing the entire subdivision. So this area, you're going to have this TIF project that we're working on, and then to the south and west, he's doing, market rate single family homes. So they're all going to be kind of part of this whole neighborhood, right? It's not like you're out on your own because you're affordable or accessible or whatever you want to call it. It's just great that he's going to kind of incorporate it into the entire neighborhood to really make it more successful, hopefully.
Absolutely. So he's incorporating it into a larger development. He's utilizing some new designs that he's wanting to try out. There's the single-family homes will have 1-stall garages and 2-stall driveways. The right-of-ways will be 50 feet down from 60 feet, so we're increasing density a little bit. And then the twin homes will have a 2-stall garage, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, but it'll have an unfinished basement, so that the individuals that purchase those units will have a chance to gain some sweat equity as well. So this is a really great opportunity to get 65 units in that workforce housing price range, and to, public-private partnership. We're trying different design standards. There's a lot of flexibility from the city, and we're being met halfway by the developer, which has been fantastic.
Totally agree, and one of those great things, it's been such a good partnership, not only with Kelly, but working with our other city departments. Engineering worked with us, like you just mentioned, on the roadway right away, and really what we wanted that for is to not have private streets up there and not put any undue costs 15 years down the line for these homeowners, right? And so engineering was able to let us do that, to get the road width down, be able to put those sidewalks, and then have those roads go over to the city to maintain, which only helps that development in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
we're really excited about that. We're hoping that that'll be going before council. We went through the informational meeting 2 weeks ago, and so hopefully by early November, that district will be officially created.
Yeah, and it's just, like I said, it's nice somebody's trying something new. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
got to try something, right? You can't solve it with the same old things we've been doing. So.
And the goal is to try to make sure that when we're looking at housing, we're trying to address every income level.
Yep.
The task force with the city council, the homelessness task force, you're really looking at 30% area median income individuals and below. And then, how do you tackle each different ranges of AMI restrictions there? 30 to 60 is, they're going to be renting.
Yep.
And that's completely fine, but how do we make sure that there's enough safe and sanitary housing available for those individuals? How do we make sure that folks from 65 to 80 start having the opportunity to build equity in their home?
Yeah.
And that's where we're working with Affordable Housing Solutions. That's where we're working with Lynn Keller-Forbes at CCOG as she's moving houses and bringing governor's houses in, Rocky at Habitat for Humanity. We have partners to try to make sure to meet, every need in the city. And that last piece is that 80 to 100% AMI, where once you're at 81%, you're having to compete with the market rate, whether it's apartments or or actual purchasing of single-family homes. So this is a tool that we're looking to utilize to try to make sure that 80 to 100%, even 110% has something that's in their affordability range, because that is truly workforce. I mean, it's all workforce, but we just need to make sure that along the way everybody has an opportunity to find a place to live, and then as they get further along in their lives, build equity. And so this is a new tool for the city, hopefully a tool that goes smoothly and something we can continue utilizing in the future.
Yep, and I think that's one of the great things with the mayor's One Sioux Falls framework that he has, that it's accessible housing, like you just mentioned. It's not affordable. We need accessible housing because we need housing for all income levels. And transitional housing, homeless population, I mean, we need it for everything around the board. So I think that's better to say it accessible instead of we need it housing in general for everybody in Sioux Falls. So we're trying to work through that. So we got a couple minutes left, so I just want to ask you a couple quick things. What surprised you with your first 7 weeks at working for the city of Sioux Falls, and what are you most excited for in the future with your position in the housing department?
Sure. I think what I was most surprised with is just having to understand the different types of programs that we're pulling funds from, whether it's the community development block grants, or it's the home investment partnerships, or it's the one-time federal dollars that come through the American Rescue Act, whatever the acronym for that is. But there's so many different pots that you're trying to pull from as far as federal resources. They go along with our city resources, but the federal resources come with quite a bit of strings attached to them. So making sure we're able to find projects that fit with every one of those, and that we're not chasing off partners because they're too restrictive, which is always the fear you run into. As far as the most positive thing, I think just the general support within the department, within the city, even the community, right? If we're talking about Kelly as a developer, we've talked to a couple other different developers about different ideas we have going forward about maybe doing additional affordable housing TIFs. The city, the departments, and our partners, everybody wants to be a part of the solution. And that's refreshing, right? If you look out and read the news every day, it always seems a little bit like doom and gloom. But when you're inside and working with these people, it is, I mean, everybody wants to be part of the solution, and that's just a really good place to be.
Yep, and I totally agree with you that everybody's on board with that, and really trying to work with the different departments, and everybody's excited to try some things and see if we can help, I guess, in the future. So It's good, and you got a good team over there. I know that. A lot of people that have a lot of knowledge, and sounds like with all those federal programs, you need all that knowledge, because it blows my mind just thinking about all those things that you have to know about where you can pull funds and what you can use it. So you got, like I said, we're excited to have you aboard. I know everybody was excited when we heard that you were coming on, and I think we'll get some good things in Sioux Falls. So hopefully I'll be talking to you in 20 years from now. We'll have planning preview, and then I can say, remember when we interviewed you 20 years ago? And you'll be like, yeah, we solved the housing crisis.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a great first 7 weeks now, and I look forward to the next 7.
Great. Thanks, Logan.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sioux Falls, for joining us for planning preview for the month of October. Just a reminder, the meeting for this month is October 5th at 6 o'clock at the Carnegie Town Hall. We'd love to have you come out and make comments on all the agenda items we talked today. We also have a 5-minute comment at the end of our meeting for any kind of planning related items that you would like to address the Planning Commission or just anybody in general. We'd love to have you come speak. So thanks, Sioux Falls, and have a great day.